ever stop to think just how fast software development is evolving right now? It really feels like we're always on the edge of something new, some totally different way to build things. Today, we're going deep on one of those shifts, something pretty revolutionary called vibe coding. And this isn't just, a new gadget. It's really about how artificial intelligence is fundamentally changing software development, making it faster, way more accessible, and, well, completely redefining what it even means to be a developer.
Absolutely. And our mission today in this deep dive is really to give you a clear picture of this emerging field. We're going to unpack what vibe coding is, exactly how it works, look at its pretty incredible advantages, but also its critical limitations, and importantly, what it all means for the future of building digital products. And we're drawing all this directly from the source materials provided.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Vibe coding. It sounds, I don't know, almost a bit mystical, doesn't it? But it's very real. So at its heart, vibe coding is this radical shift where you express your ideas just using natural language, right? And then AI turns that into working software.
Precisely. Yeah, IBM describes vibe coding as basically a software development approach. Developers articulate what they want in plain English or another natural language, and then these AI-powered coding assistants, they take those ideas and actually transform them into executable code. The core logic here, it's a huge simplification compared to how things are normally done. The classic way involves moving from, say, high-level architecture all the way down into the weeds of specific code lines. With vibe coding, you're essentially just giving it a natural language prompt. The AI analyzes that prompt, figures out the intent, and converts it directly into functional code blocks.
Wow, that sounds incredibly powerful. So what are the immediate impacts, like the practical side of this? Does this mean we're kind of breaking down those traditional walls around who gets to create software, maybe opening things up?
That's exactly it. Yeah. It immediately starts to democratize the whole production process. And people who aren't traditional coders, maybe designers, product managers, they can now actually start the development of applications. And for the experienced devs, it radically speeds up prototyping, especially for things like MVPs, minimum viable products. Just imagine like a developer or maybe a product manager just says, the user needs to log in with email, then see a welcome message. And boom, the AI generates the basic code for that function. It's that direct.
That vision, natural language, straight to code, it's really compelling. But how does it actually work, day to day? Could you maybe walk us through the steps, like from having an idea to getting, say, a working prototype?
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely more involved than just typing something and hitting enter. It's quite systematic. So the first step is really choosing the right coding assistant. These are the AI tools, the intelligent assistants using large language models. They analyze your natural language request and translate it. Popular ones you hear about are like GitHub Copilot that integrates right into Visual Studio Code. There's Replit Ghostwriter, which is browser-based, pretty good for quick prototypes. Cursor offers AI help with explanations and edits. And Amazon has Code Whisperer, which ties into AWS. Which one you pick really depends on, how complex your product is, your team structure, what you need it to integrate with.
Okay, so you've picked your tool. What's the next big piece of this vibe coding puzzle? Is it just about what you ask for, or is there like a skill to asking?
Oh, it's absolutely about how you ask. The quality of the AI's output depends massively on the clarity and context in your prompt. The source material actually gives a really good contrast. Like a bad example might be just saying, create a login form. Oh, it's just, it's too vague or not enough detail. A good example would be much more specific. Create a login form with fields for username and password. It needs email verification. After a successful login, redirect the user to the dashboard page. See the difference. Clear, detailed, very goal-oriented. And what's fascinating here is that this skill, they call it prompt engineering, crafting these precise instructions. That becomes totally central to vibe coding. It directly impacts how productive a developer can be. It's almost like learning a new language, but you're speaking to the AI.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, so you've crafted this brilliant prompt. The AI generates some code, but you can't just push that live, right? I mean, surely not. What's next?
No, absolutely not. Yeah, AI-generated code needs serious human oversight before it goes anywhere near production.
Yeah.
So the third step is all about reviewing and then refining that code. Key things to check. Code readability. Are there comments? Are variable names clear? Does it make sense? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
You also have to look at security controls. Things like input validation, data sanitization, making sure it's not introducing vulnerabilities. And then you need to assess testability. Is the code modular? Can you actually write unit tests for it easily? And this isn't usually a one-shot deal. It's iterative. You test the code, maybe you tweak your prompt, ask for a new version, test again until it's right.
Right, iterative refinement. So once it's looking good through that process, what happens as you get closer to actually deploying it? What are those final critical checks?
Okay, so before going live, there are some crucial final checks. You need to make sure it fits with your overall project architecture. Can't just be tacked on, right? It needs seamless integration with your version control. Git, GitHub, whatever you use. Then there's thorough team code evaluation. Standard stuff like pull requests, code reviews. Your team needs to sign off. Plus, you'll want to use automated testing and deployment through your CI/CD pipelines, continuous integration, continuous delivery. This whole rigorous process ensures that vibe coding isn't just for, messing around with ideas. It can be a valid, secure part of professional software development.
Okay, like any new tech, there's always the good and the less good. And you, listening, might be thinking, okay, sounds great, but where's the catch? So let's dive into the advantages, which seem pretty significant, but also the limitations we really need to keep in mind.
Definitely. On the advantages side, vibe coding really shines for rapid prototyping and MVP development. Ideas can become something testable incredibly quickly. Stuff that might take days traditionally, you can potentially knock out in hours. That's huge for startups, product managers. It also massively boosts accessibility for non-technical folks. People who don't code, UX designers, content creators, business analysts, they can now express their ideas in natural language and actually see them start to take shape. They become active participants. For experienced developers, it's a big productivity boost. They can offload those repetitive boilerplate tasks. Things like basic CR road operations, building standard form components, routine API calls. This frees them up to focus on the harder, more strategic problems, the creative stuff. And finally, some of these vibe coding tools actually help enforce automated code standards. They can automatically follow best practices for linting, error handling, modularity, which, interestingly, can also act as a kind of learning tool for more junior developers.
Those benefits, especially around speed and accessibility, sound really transformative. But like you said, every powerful tool has its downsides or things to watch out for. What should we be cautious about here?
Yeah, there are definitely key limitations to be aware of. First off, code quality and readability can be, let's say, inconsistent. AI code isn't always the cleanest or most optimized. Sometimes it just sort of gets the job done, which might be okay for a prototype, but it's risky for live systems where maintainability is crucial. Second, it often struggles with complex architectures. Vibe coding tends to work best for single files, small components, or very specific functions. But if you're dealing with intricate systems microservices, highly modular designs, complex security infrastructures, it can really fall short. Third, and this is a big one, there's a risk of hidden dependencies and security vulnerabilities. Remember, these AIs learn from vast amounts of code online, some of which might be insecure or rely on outdated libraries. So you need extra diligence, especially when the code handles things like authentication or sensitive user data.
Yeah, that security aspect is critical. So if the AI is learning from potentially flawed code out there, how do we even manage that risk effectively? That's a tough one.
It is a challenge. Rigorous code reviews and security scanning become even more important than usual.
And finally, it sounds like vibe coding doesn't just change how code is written, but it actually changes the developer's job itself. How does that play out?
That's a really significant point. The role definitely shifts. It moves away from primarily, writing every line of code from scratch. It becomes much more about designing the prompts effectively and then managing and refining the AI's output. This needs new skills, a different way of thinking. It's more about orchestration and critical evaluation, less about pure typing. And not everyone might adapt to that shift at the same pace.
Okay, talking about it is one thing, but let's make it more concrete. Where are we actually seeing vibe coding being used right now, like in different sectors? Who's using this and what impact is it having on them?
Yeah, the sources give some really interesting concrete examples. For startups, Gary Tan, the CEO of Y Combinator, he's on record saying that LLM's large language models let a small team, maybe 10 people, basically do the work of 50 or even 100. That lets startups punch way above their weight, do much more with less. Then you have freelance developers. They're using tools like Cursor AI for faster prototyping, quicker client deliveries. That obviously boosts client satisfaction and their own efficiency, even big corporate companies. Amazon Web Services, for instance, uses its own Q Developer AI assistant for building internal tools. They're automating routine stuff, increasing efficiency inside the company. In education, IBM is using vibe coding to help students grasp software development concepts. They get to code projects just from natural language descriptions, which bridges theory and practice. And maybe the most surprising one, small businesses. There's an example of Therese Weichter,
who runs an online sticker shop. She apparently doubled her income in a year using AI tools, mostly for customizing her Shopify store, automating product descriptions, generating hashtags, even helping with design ideas.
Wow, those examples are incredibly diverse, from Y Combinator startups to an online sticker shop. That really shows the breadth of this thing. So looking ahead then, what does this all mean for the future? Is vibe coding really going to be the new standard way of doing things?
It certainly points towards some major shifts. One big one is this move from focusing purely on coding skills to needing strong prompt skills. Today's developer needs to know programming languages, algorithms, design patterns. With vibe coding becoming more prevalent, the key skill set starts to evolve. It includes being really good at clear, effective natural language. Also, analytical problem expression, breaking down problems in a way the AI can understand, prompt engineering, obviously, and critically evaluating the AI's output. The developer role kind of morphs into something more like a process manager or even a product designer at a certain level.
That's a fascinating way to put it, process manager. So does this mean we're heading towards a future that's much more about human plus AI collaboration and software creation?
Absolutely. I think that's the core of it. Vibe coding isn't about replacing developers. It's about augmenting them, boosting their efficiency massively. It's this blend of human intuition, experience, and creativity with the AI's computational power and ability to generate suggestions quickly. This really enables a new way of producing software that wasn't possible with only humans or only AI. And it could redefine team roles, maybe flatten hierarchies a bit, encourage people who aren't hardcore coders to contribute more directly. If you zoom out, vibe coding feels like a precursor, really, to a much more democratic, faster, and inclusive way of creating digital things.
That's a really powerful vision. But, with any tech that gets adopted this fast, especially one automating something so critical, there's usually a lag before standards and governance catch up. What's the situation with vibe coding on that front?
You're spot on. Yeah, widely accepted rules, standardized security audits, or comprehensive quality control frameworks, specifically for vibe coding, they're still very much in development. It's early days. But looking forward, we can definitely expect to see things like automated testing tailored for AI-generated code. We'll likely see much more documentation around best practices for writing effective prompts, and probably ethical guidelines, maybe even contractual frameworks for how humans and AI should collaborate effectively and responsibly. As bigger companies and public sector organizations start using this more, regulation is almost certainly going to follow.
And maybe the biggest potential impact of all. Could vibe coding genuinely lead to software development for everyone, making it truly accessible?
The sources definitely lean that way. They suggest that yes, people like teachers, marketers, entrepreneurs, maybe even high school students could potentially create simple digital tools for themselves without needing that deep formal training in complex programming languages. And this raises a really provocative question for you, listening at home. Could software development eventually become more of a general skill, like writing or basic math, rather than just a deep specialization? The source material seems to suggest that with tools like vibe coding, the answer might actually be yes.
What an incredible thought. It really feels like vibe coding isn't just some passing fad, does it? It seems to represent this fundamental shift in how software gets made in the age of AI. It's transforming the old ways, creating totally new job descriptions, new production methods, and completely new ways for people to learn.
Exactly. And just to reiterate, the developer's role isn't vanishing. It's evolving. It's becoming more strategic, more creative, more directive. Critical thinking, problem solving, and mastering language, both natural and for prompting, seem set to become even more important than just knowing the syntax of a specific coding language.
So, thinking about that democratization, if vibe coding truly empowers almost anyone to build software, just imagine the impact on innovation in fields way outside traditional tech. What new possibilities could you, listening right now, unlock with these kinds of tools? We definitely encourage you to maybe check out tools like GitHub Copilot, Cursor, or Riplet Ghostwriter. Start experimenting and see what happens.